Hello, my name is Paula Duluff, and I am a teacher at Thomas Jefferson High School, and I am making this video to show you how to use the question banks to create your own quizzes in the SAISDTSIA 2 ELAR Resources Canvas course. That's a lot of letters and a lot of initials. Okay, I actually had to read that. I don't have it memorized yet. All right, so this is the Canvas course that is the work in progress. I'm making this video on June 14th, 2021, so it is not a complete course, but there's a lot of good resources to get started. And one of the things that I wanted to show you today was the question bank resource. And so actually to go to the question banks, you go to quizzes, just like you're going to create a quiz. And I actually will show you how to create a quiz using the question bank, but I want to show you the question bank first. So over here, the snowman next to the quiz button, this is normally what you would push to make your quiz. Over here is the snowman button. And I'm just going to go into manage question banks so you can see what I have there already. And again, this is June 14th, 2021, so it is a work in progress. What I have done is I've created different question banks and I have organized them according to question type. So for example, connecting selections, that's always going to be the second and third question on the test for the students. We have one for literary passages, which is always what starts the test. I just said something wrong. There's 4 literary passage questions, so questions 5 and 6 are your connecting selections. I said that wrong. On the multiple choice part of the TSI 2.0. So this one, and I'll just take a look at this connecting selections. This is the one that I want to add more to because I don't have as many, and they're a little harder to build than the other questions. So as you can see, this is a question bank that has a lot of different types of questions in there, a lot of different examples of connecting selections. And so that's something that's in there. Going back to the question banks, I have one for literary passages, and those all have 4 questions attached to them because that's what the TSI has. So you have the passage and then you have the 4 questions. It's not exactly the same format as we use because you can see all 4 questions to begin with, and of course when they take the TSI 2.0 they can't do that, but I think it's close enough. So you'll notice if you look through these and scrutinize them a little more carefully that they are actually from real works of literature that I've excerpted and written questions for based on the TSI model. And that is the reason for that is what you will find on the actual TSI test as well. They're not fake things, they're real stories. I see a lot of Louisa May Alcott, I see a lot of Jack London, so you'll see a few passages there, but I try to have some diverse experiences. So these are all excerpted that I found online. Okay, and so then we go back to, if you've seen any of my TSI intervention videos before, or you just know how I do TSI, I do it by question type. I've studied the test and broken it into the different types of questions that they ask. So that's how I do it. You may not find it helpful to give students explicit instruction on looking at the question type, but I'm hoping that you can still use the actual questions to build meaningful practice for your students. So you don't have to necessarily handle TSI the way that I do, but I'm hoping the resources will still be helpful to you. You, again, will notice there's not that many writing. The short answer on that is it's only recently that the writing questions have become more important for students getting compliant and for students getting college and career readiness. But we are working on that. That is one of my goals over the summer, is to add a substantial amount of writing questions so you have just as many of those to practice with your students. All right, now that you've had a chance to see the question banks, I want to take a look at how to build a quiz using the question bank. So I'm going to show you 2 different things. I'm going to show you how to build one that you use the certain questions that you want to use with all students. I'm going to show you that first, and then I'm going to show you how to build a randomized quiz. So this is one. Let's say we want to add one that is going to be, my students are struggling with inference, and I really want them to have more inference questions. I just want to do an inference, just inference questions. So I'm going to use the classic quizzes, and I don't know how to use the new quizzes yet. I haven't had training on it, so don't tell anyone. Okay. So this is, of course, you're familiar with building a quiz. I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. You put in your due date information. You put in if you would like to have an access code to keep a measure of privacy before the students take, or a measure of security rather, before the students take the test. Then you go to the questions, and this is normal. Normally you go to new question and you write a question, right? You write the question that you want your students to handle. This is what you're going to do instead. You want to access those questions from the question bank, because I did a lot of this work so that you didn't have to. That's what we've been working on. So what you'll then see is you'll see the question banks will come up for you. And that way you can add those questions in. So I'm like, I want to do a literary passage. Now, I have a pretty good knowledge of the question banks because I wrote them. It might take you a while before you're able to just kind of look at them really, but you may need to look at them a little bit more and pick them out using the question banks. But I know what a lot of these are from. So let's say I know I want to do the one, I want to do the Notes of a Native Son one. I think that that would be good for this group. Maybe I've been doing some things that are similar to that. Maybe I did something else by James Baldwin, and I want to use this as like reading practice for them. So I would click on that one, okay? And then I would add that question, and the question will pop up for you. And now you can see it a lot better than you could see it. The other form was like you couldn't really see it. And then you can see all the questions. You can show the question details. And you can see, if you want to see the explanations, they all have explanations built into them. It's kind of a nice feature that we've added in here where it explains why the question's right or wrong. I really wanted that. I felt strongly that that should be in there. So students can kind of guide themselves through and then ask you if they have any questions. So that would be how I would add that in. And then let's say I'm doing a general practice. I really want the students to practice like a very small version of the whole test. Well, then the next thing I would do, not that. That would be the wrong thing to do, what I just did. I would go back to find question. I need to know my own thing here. And then I would put in a connecting selections, because that's the next thing that they would encounter. So I'm going to do this one about school uniforms. Again, I know these kind of off the top of my head, but you'll get to learn the ones that you've used and ones that you haven't used. And then I would add that one in. So now I have that practice. And now I want to add some of the short passage ones in. So these are, I think I want to change the names of those so you can see what type of question it is. So anyway, I would go through and then I would add the questions that I want to put in there. And then, okay, so then I would say, let's do, okay. And then I would have this one, which is an author's craft question. So then I would go on and build until I had one that I thought covered all the different types of questions students will have. This is great for practice. This is great for diagnostic if you're trying to see what students are good at, what kinds of questions they do well with, and what kinds of questions they struggle with. This would be great for that. And that's how you build a quiz where you're going to have everybody using the same questions. And that's probably what you'll be doing the most often. I did want to show you, okay, I'm going to cancel this because I'm not going to actually add this in. Then I'm going to delete it because I'm not going to actually use it. Okay. All right. Now I want to show you if you wanted to create a quiz for your students that was random, okay, where any kind of question could pop up with you have some control over the question that pops up, but they might be different for everybody. This is ideal if you're just having them practice in class and you want them to get a sense of what the TSI is like, where it is an algorithm that pops up different questions that they won't get the same test experience as the person sitting next to them. So again, back to classic quizzes. I'm going to submit. Assume you filled this out. I'm going to go to questions, and I'm going to go to new question group. So I'm going to click on this. So I want the first question. I'm going to link it to a question bank, and I want them to do a literary passage. I always have them start. That's how the test is going to be. They might as well get used to it. So I'm going to select that. You still want to pick, even though there's 4 questions attached to it, it's a multiple drop down. So you just want to pick one question, and then you probably want to make that one worth more points. Like I'm just going to make it worth 4 points because I know there's 4 questions in there. So I'm going to create that as a group. Let me actually name that. I'm going to name it literary passage. So what happens here is that what the computer will do is it will throw up a random literary passage question from the bank of 11. Okay, so again, if you were doing this maybe as a class activity, or you just wanted to have students practice independently, this might be something that would work for them. Then you would have that, and that would pop up. So each student gets this, will have a different test. Now, will the test be radically different? Probably not. Our question banks, as of right now, are not that deep. I think I have like about anywhere from 8 to 10 in each of the different categories. So again, if you wanted to do a random connecting selections, that's the next thing they're going to see on the test. I want to pick, you could pick 2. I usually do 1. There's 2 on the test, but I usually make the practice smaller than the actual test because we only have so much time. So again, I'm going to link to a question bank. I'm going to go here. I'm going to select that bank, and then I'm going to create that group. So it's going to pull up randomly one of the connecting selection questions from that group. And then I would go on and do that with the rest of them. That's where I want to be. I know that I want them to do, okay, this is the primary purpose main idea category. Okay, so I'm going to pick that one, and I'm going to add that. No, that's right. That's if you want to find one. I'm not doing that, right? I'm doing question group. Yeah, that's right. So then I would go, I want to do short passage. I want to make sure they do an inference question. Maybe I want to do more than, this is the thing, maybe I want to do more than one inference question. Those are the ones that our students tend to struggle with because of the nuance, but maybe I want to do 3 of these. Okay, then I would go link it to a group, and then I would link it to this one, inference. There's only 8 in there. I need to step up my game. I need to add more to the inference category. So then I would select that, and so then the students in that group would have 3 questions from the inference category. So you could, if there's one that you really want to add more of because you think it appears on the test more, you think your students need more work with it, you can do that one. So once again, this would be to create a random test. So this is not ideal if you're doing whole class instruction because then everybody's going to have different things for you to go over. So if you're doing one for everybody and you want everybody to be the same, then you would use find questions, and you would find the questions that you want. If you want to do one and you want it to be kind of like different from student to student, you would do new question group, and you would pick out the various questions. You would pick out the categories, and then it will randomize that. So I just wanted to show you those 2 functions. The whole point of this is to give you as many choices and options as possible. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to delete this because I don't want this in the course. Okay, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me at Jefferson. My email address is pdolloff1@saisd.net. So it's DOLLOFF, doll and off put together. So pdolloff1@saisd if you have any questions. Thank you, and happy TSI prep.